Well, just as important, I think, as the 2 wins, yes, you heard me right, 2 wins for Toronto FC, just as important as winning away is for this team that's, of course, struggled to do well consistently away from home for so long. Maybe even just as important, or maybe even more important than the 3 games undefeated. You know, the 0-0 draw against the Red Bulls at home, the miracle in the rain last week, and now the win on Sunday in New England. I think probably as important or more important is the fact that in the last 3 games, this team has conceded 1 goal. People, 1 goal. And 2 shutouts in 3 games is a very, very encouraging sign. How you doing, everybody? Tim here once again. A View from the South Stands coming to you on Tuesday after the long weekend and after TFC's most recent game. A victory 1-0 away on the back of an early Matthias Laba goal against the New England Revolution in Foxborough. The team got away with 3 points. They got away with no blown ACLs or Achilles tendons or any injuries due to that cheapskate bastard Robert Kraft's insistence on not putting grass in that stadium. And I'll take it. Pretty darn pleased overall with the result. And I'll get to the game in a moment. I also have some other business as well. 3 pieces of business I want to talk about. The game against Roma coming up tomorrow on Wednesday. Max Arudi from Newell's Old Boys, some controversy potentially on the horizon there, if you believe what you're reading online. And of course, I want to touch on Clint Dempsey as well, because there's a Toronto connection to what's become one of the biggest stories in Major League Soccer this year, namely Clint Dempsey, formerly of Fulham, formerly of Tottenham, and formerly, of course, of New England, ironically back in the day, coming back to MLS and signing a monster contract with the Seattle Sounders, but I'll get to that in a second. So back to the game. I really believe that the 2 shutouts and the 1 goal in 3 games is an absolutely huge stat and metric for this team. There's only been, I think, coming up to the last 2 games, I don't think there's been more than 1 shutout this season for Toronto FC, and that's been one of the more discouraging metrics, I think, to measure the progress that this team has actually been trying to build upon under Fran O'Leary and, of course, under Ryan Nelson as well. It's a pretty simple game, right? It's goals are hard to come by. If you concede goals, it's going to be hard to get points. If you can keep balls out of your own net, you got a fighting chance of stealing a game here and there. And of course, I think that's what happened on Sunday in New England. New England had their chances. They actually had significant possession. They actually had significant pressure. Joe Bendik had to make a couple of nice saves. Again, he's hardly put a foot wrong this season. Definitely making a case so far this season for team MVP, in my humble opinion. He did have some work to do. 2 balls were cleared off the line by Eckersley and Morgan, I believe, during the game. Ashton Morgan with a potential replacement in the wings in Elmer, the young player they signed from the Swiss League, or the Swiss Second Division, I believe. Actually, he's a fullback, plays Morgan's position, but Morgan played, Elmer didn't dress. Morgan had the best game that he's had all season by a country mile. Eckersley seems to be getting back into game shape. Daniil Henry didn't really put much of a foot wrong in the game either. Positionally had a very strong game, and that's been my knock on him so far this season, is the fact that he's positionally been really challenged sometimes. And of course, the captain, Stephen Caldwell, I think is hugely responsible for the improvement on the back line in the last few games. And obviously when we improve, even though we've been struggling to put goals in the net, we're giving ourselves a fighting chance to get some points. And that's, I think, the lesson to take from the last 3 games, is not necessarily the goal scoring late or the goal scoring early in New England, but I think specifically the fact that the team is keeping itself in games defensively, and that gives itself a chance to compete in a league designed around parity. And I'll get to parity in a second as well. Back to the Dempsey thing. Want to very quickly mention Matthias Laba as well. That kid is a fabulous little footballer. Really liking what I'm seeing from him. He scored early on. Made a beautiful run from the center midfield position. Sort of cut in, skinned the New England defender. Put a really strong ball on net that was deflected back to him, and he just calmly and coolly put it in the net. Some people on Twitter were saying that it was lucky. I say that's bullshit. I think he actually created his own luck on that goal, very simply by aggressively going towards the net, putting a hard ball on target that was really, really difficult to handle. It came right back to him. There's the 3 points for Toronto FC. The other thing I noticed, and I really tried to put as much attention on him as I could when I was watching the game on TV, was really trying to really watch how he handled himself in close quarters in the midfield. The kid hardly puts a foot wrong. He can create space from nothing. And one of the other interesting things I did is I took a look at some of the advanced stats that MLS Soccer is now putting available on its website. Galazzo.mlssoccer.com, I believe, something that they're doing in beta. And you can take a look at every single player and take a look at their distribution. You know, some players like Caldwell, I think maybe 3/4 of their balls went to Jeremy Hall or Matthias Laba, for example. You know, that sort of thing. So you're able to see where the players are actually distributing the ball. Laba distributed the ball to almost everybody on the pitch. So it was really interesting to see that he was trying to be creative. He was trying to be, he was trying to actually take a look at the situation that he was in, and he was giving the ball to different people at different times in different situations. So he wasn't relying upon one or two crutches, so to speak. And I really think that that actually speaks to his intelligence and his creativity as a footballer as well. I'd recommend checking out that stat site if you get a chance. Now, I got to get ready to go to work soon. I film this in the morning and I work at noon, so I got to get going. I want to touch on some other business. The Roma friendly is taking place tomorrow, and this is the only time you're going to hear me mention it. I'm not going to watch it. I don't care about it. I'm not going to the game. And I can tell you right now, it's not near a sellout. You go on Ticketmaster right now, there are tons and tons and tons of tickets to be had. I don't know very many supporters that are going. I know less number of supporters who actually even care about this game. A little message for you, Mr. Lewicki. We're not the Los Angeles Galaxy. We're not a competitive year in, year out playoff team in this league. We don't have that international stature right now. We don't have the quality of players right now. Our focus should be on the league. Our focus should be on moving this team forward, having a silly money grab friendly in the middle of the week that doesn't matter a hill of beans when we've got a difficult game against Seattle coming up on the weekend is just stupid. When we're the LA Galaxy, yeah, let's have some friendlies then. But we're not the Los Angeles Galaxy, far from it at this point. And that's the last you're going to hear me mention of that silly friendly. Max Arudi, you may hear that name more if you haven't already, folks. He's a striker with a team called Newell's Old Boys in Argentina. And supposedly he's on his way here, if you believe what's being said online. The team actually has written the Canadian Soccer Association and Toronto FC disputing the way that Arudi has allegedly left his team, and they're threatening legal action, supposedly, if TFC actually signs him in the next coming days without compensation. So hold on to your hats, folks. That could be a very, very messy transfer if that's the actual transfer that TFC actually signs off on in the coming days for a new striker. So we'll see what happens there. What I hope is that the Reds have their act together, and that this is not something that drags on past the transfer window, or something that becomes a distraction for a team that finally now may be starting to get a bit of its sea legs on the field. And finally, I want to actually talk about Clint Dempsey. Great footballer, an American footballer, world-class player, American international. Not last year when he played for Tottenham, where he kind of took a bit of a step back as far as playing time goes, but the year before that he was playing for Fulham in London, one of the best players in the Premier League, world-class talent, He decides to come back to Major League Soccer, and supposedly Toronto FC was in discussions at the very least, and it was talked about. Supposedly TFC, actually, if you believe Grant Wall and Sports Illustrated, Toronto FC was actually, they actually decided not to actively go after a player like Clint Dempsey, basically as a favor, quote unquote, a favor to American soccer. What the hell does that mean? A favor to American soccer. You know, I get that we're in an American league. I get that Major League Soccer was built to actually, you know, as a product of the World Cup in 1994. It was built to build the American game and have a professional environment here in North America for American players to actually prosper and grow. But guess what? It's now a North American league. There are 3 Canadian teams in this league that paid significant money to come into the league, big expansion fees. Vancouver and Montreal paid more than we did. Sorry, Vancouver and Montreal. But that's almost $100 million that we put into it. 3 new markets, more revenue. And what do we get in return? We get shitty referees like Salazar. We get Canadian players being treated as foreigners in their own country, essentially, because of the league rules. And now we're deferring to the American soccer, you know, culture, and to the U.S. men's national team. I say screw that. We don't owe them anything. If a player like Clint Dempsey, if that's the guy that they wanted to go get, screw American soccer. I say go get him. American soccer is their problem. Canadian soccer and Toronto FC should be our problem. That's it. I'm not going to have a video post up after the Roma game because, frankly, I don't give a shit about it. And I'm not going to watch. I don't even care. I will, of course, be going to the Seattle game on Saturday evening. Looking forward to a night game at BMO Field. And a little tip for you, there's going to be all kinds of transit nightmares going to the game on Saturday. Take the Ossington bus from Ossington Station. Trust me, you won't be steered wrong. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.